connects with his play.
Wait, what the hell is this? They can't do that!
That's not what Lumberjacks are out here to do!
The Lumberjacks! To see if humanity at ringside!
It's all breaking down!
And now, Old School Dirty Heels Productions presents the TNAsylum HeelCast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the HeelCast on TNAsylum. I'm TNA Dude, and I've fully recovered from the beating we took at the hands of the Decay earlier this week. Raven Effect, are all your parts functional again, bro?
I'm glad you recovered, because, dude, I am legitimately still cleaning the shit out of my underwear from shitting myself in fear so bad from the Decay. That was the most intimidating thing I've ever been through in my life.
Yeah, dude, that was pretty scary stuff.
And
now,
I don't know what in the hell your sister did to us at the end, but I can't even, like I said, I'm not even going to admit or say anything where I'm hurting right now. Still.
Now look, Raven, I was off last week, but I did listen to the show. And I heard your epic rap at the beginning. Now look, I don't know a lot of rap. So as I thought, how am I going to one-up Raven Effect? I just had this one thing stuck in my head. It's all I could think of. It goes a little like this. You know, talent is just the same no matter time nor place. He just doesn't understand that us podcasters are going to make some mistakes. So to you, all the podcasters across the land, there's no need to argue. Talent just doesn't understand.
Boom. I knew that hot shit was coming. Right after your first sentence, I was like, oh shit, he's going there.
I'm going there.
Fresh Prince.
I think I'm going to need a week off again next week after I get kicked off again.
I think next week someone's got to do Big Willie, or not Big Willie style, but getting jiggy with it somehow.
That's another good one. Look, I just wasn't a rapper, but I'm not going to let him do that to me.
Get those nerds! Nerd! Nerd!
Now, Raven, I got some great news for you. Making his triumphant return to the HeelCast after spending the last month with his incredibly hot chemistry tutor. Yeah, there was some chemistry, all right. Tonight, we have the one and only numero 47 joining the HeelCast. Numero, how you been, bro?
I'm doing well tonight. It's great to be back, actually. I'm going to, after being away for 3 weeks, I think I'm going to trade my chemistry book to some dumbbells just to get some ready.
Well, we're certainly glad to have you back, man. We missed you. We definitely missed you earlier this week when we did the Decay. But look, folks, there's a lot of great content on the site this week. Of course, we have Straight Shooting with FK9. FK9 is always entertaining, whether he's with us or on his own. The best TNA commenting that you're going to find. Go to the TNA weekly page. Get all the latest news and notes with like-minded TNA fans. Of course, one of my favorite features of the site, the Impact Live coverage. It's a great way to spend your Tuesday night with fellow Impact fans. And I want to take some time to do a special shout-out. We had a wonderful take on last week's page from Brookside Raider. Brookside Raider, thank you very much for taking the time to do your take. We appreciate everybody's take. Of course, in addition to that, the HeelCast has some of its own stuff going on. We've got Revive the X Division, numero 47. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, as you guys know, we've been really trying to petition for some more X Division action on Impact. And, we started off really strong. I just want to make sure that we keep on adding more names. We're seeing slow progress, so, keep those names coming.
Awesome, but we've got a new petition to augment the Revive the X Division petition. Raven Effect, I know this is your pet project. You want to talk a little bit about it, bro?
Absolutely. Last weekend, I Unfortunately, I picked probably the worst week of my life to try and do this, to spend the time necessary, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to continue. But the Mutt Militia is full on and going. Look, there's a new petition on change.org. Not only do we have our hashtag Revive the X Division, but I created the push to get Aiden O'Shea on television petition through change.org. I approved it through the HeelCast. Of course, they were there because they're also part of the Mutt Militia. We got that on the site. Look, everyone, please go to Twitter, find our change.org petition, click on it, sign your name, retweet it, tell some friends, tell anyone, look, we want Aiden O'Shea on television, and honestly, you guys should too. You know why? If you don't want him on there and you don't think it's going to work out and it's going to be a failure and you can stick it in my face, come on and talk shit to me. Prove me wrong. Prove to me that the guy doesn't have it, because I know he's got it. You got to see what this guy does on Twitter. The dude is insanely witty, funny. He's got that it factor that you cannot teach, okay? Aiden O'Shea has it. Do us a favor, do us a solid, do TNA and their ratings a solid, because honest to God, TNA may really need it, guys. Help them out. Help Aiden O'Shea out. Let someone try and live their dream. It's not taking anyone else's job. Help someone out. I in my opinion, look, would you guys want someone to do that for you? If you were really good at your job and better than a lot of people that were doing this job, and you weren't going to take money, food away off the plates of their families, you'd want that done for you. So let's do it for someone else.
Look, here's the thing, TNA, if you're listening, we're not asking you to give Aiden O'Shea a world title run here. We're just saying the guy's on the roster, he's doing some really good work on Twitter for you. So what the heck? Put him on TV. Like my brother Raven Effect said, if Aiden O'Shea and the Mutt Militia, the HeelCast Mutt Militia, doesn't work out, hey, that's fine. But we're just asking, give the guy a shot. Let's see what he can do. Now, I know I just mentioned that we're not asking for Aiden O'Shea to have a title run, but if you've been following the site and the HeelCast at all this week, we had a little special talk with somebody that's in the midst of a title run, and that would, of course, be the Decay with Crazy Steve and with Rosemary. This is a can't-miss interview, folks. These two are gold on the screen. They were even more gold in the interview. It was absolutely phenomenal stuff. I recommend checking it out. You're going to find out a lot about the motives of the Decay. You're going to find out how they came together, how they formed, and what they think, what their mindset is. This is the kind of stuff that you don't get on Impact Wrestling. You can only get it here from the HeelCast on TNAsylum.net. Check it out. So,
I want to say real fast, and I'm sorry, I have no idea how TNA went 2 years without letting Crazy Steve talk. That dude, if you listen to this interview, tell me that is not a star waiting to be born. That guy is phenomenal. Look, we know how great Rosemary is. No one has to put Rosemary over. Steve, that just sometimes if you listen to this guy talk during this interview that we did with him, it is just brilliant. The guy it's a crazy mad scientist. And it was just, man, this guy can go places as a talker, and TNA really has a lot of good talkers on the roster. And I was blown away at how good Crazy Steve actually is, a star.
You know, Raven, this brings up something, right? And you always have people talk about, who's the best stars? Are they from TNA or WWE or ROH or New Japan or somewhere else? But here's the difference between TNA and WWE. Steve didn't have to write his lines, right? It isn't like creative came and said, this is what to write. This stuff came out of his mouth, off the cuff. We didn't have a set of questions in front of them they could read and say, hey, this is what I want to say. This was all stuff that they did ad hoc on the fly. And yeah, the guy was absolutely brilliant. Totally blew my mind. I'll be honest with you, though. I'm not going to lie. I do miss the horn a little bit. I always got a kick out of the horn. But yeah, the guy is absolute gold. Definitely check it out, folks. The other thing I want to throw out about the interview is that Wake the Snake Stamina Chambers deserves all the credit in the world. Not only did he do a phenomenal job with the executive production on the show, he also was the one that orchestrated and organized the whole thing. So, Wake, a very, very special shout out to you, brother. There's one other guy that performed behind the scenes as well that gets no credit at all for what he did, and that is my buddy Eco Bro. Just so you know, Raven Effect suggested about 24 hours before the show, could Eco Bro do nothing more than a remix of the Nobodies so that we could feature it on the show because we don't have copyrights to just do it. In 24 hours, Eco Bro didn't do a remix. He re-recorded the entire thing, doing all the instrumentation himself, and it came off sounding absolutely fantastic. In fact, I would suggest to Steve, Rosemary Abyss, if you're doing indie shows and you want to use it, just go ahead and take it. EcoBro would be honored to have you take it. So EcoBro, wonderful job with that, as well as all the other music in that show was done by EcoBro.
EcoBro's, I'm baffled. I'm in awe at how insanely talented of a musician and an artist that EcoBro is. And Eco, thank you so much. Man, I can't thank you enough for doing that for us. And yeah, TNA dude's not exaggerating, man. I literally threw something out 24 hours in advance, not expecting Eco to A, be able to do it, B, have the time to do it, and C, why would he, want to do that in such short time, to take that time away from his life on such short notice and do something so goddamn good. Just thank you, Eco, from the bottom of all of our hearts. You are just a phenomenal, talented musician. Great guy as well. Just a great all-around person.
Except when he's spitting green mist in my face.
Take his green mist over Rosemary's, Jesus.
I don't know. I've had both in my face recently. I'm full of green mist.
Same here.
The one thing that I will say is that he actually didn't just do the songs. These are songs that actually could be used for events, and he's opening himself to allow them to do that. And so he's actually doing something to help them out as well, which is just a small way that we could say thank you. So thank you again, Eco Bro, for everything that you've done and continue to do for us, and we can't wait to get you back on the show at some point. So folks, the sound off question from last week was who paid the Decay to attack Jeff Hardy, but maybe more so than who do you think paid him off? Who would you like to see the ones behind it be? So Numero, I know that you've been out there scouting the boards and scouting Twitter. Can you tell us what people are saying?
Right, and our local fan favorite account said, as far as who I think paid off the Decay in the storyline, he believes it was Matt Hardy. Going back to the question, who would he like to see have done it? He would have liked to Decay to have done this on their own, just to make it seem like Matt got paid, just to make them think that Matt paid them more in order to cause some kind of chaos between the love they have for one another. And we also had one person who said that he also believes it was Matt Hardy, just because it serves the storyline, but kind of piggybacking off what Count said, it would be fun to see the Decay, sort of have done this on their own for the same reasons. As far as who I think done it, again, I just have to agree with my, fellow TNAsylum commenters. It had to be Matt Hardy. It just sort of plays off, the big money Matt Hardy persona he was going off. That I think that Decay, sort of playing these mind games with everybody would be fun. And, you can base that off on the interview that you guys did.
So yeah, the way I look at it, I think it's got to be Matt Hardy. I don't know how it couldn't be Matt Hardy. I'd like to see it be somebody completely different. I guess it would be great if it could be, EY, but he's not coming back. So really, I think we're pretty much just going to be stuck with Matt Hardy. I think if we could get some other heel in there, maybe somebody like an Eli Drake that could move up the card, wouldn't be bad. Of course, Mike Bennett, right? That would be cool as well. But I don't think that there's much doubt that it's going to be, Matt Hardy at the end of the day.
Unfortunately, I think it is going to end up being Matt Hardy, who I just got to mention one thing real fast. One of my favorite people in the entire world, my friend Dan, actually told me yesterday that he doesn't think that the show talks about how fat and terrible Matt Hardy is enough. And Dan also went on to say that he has the worst body he's ever seen since William Regal. Moving on, though, let's go to our news for the week, guys.
I don't know about that. I think Tyrus is a pretty nice body. I mean, just saying.
We're talking hot bods. How about that Ethan Carter?
Alrighty then. So.
Oh yeah!
I understand that Cedric Alexander finished up with ROH last weekend. Apparently, Sugar Shane Helms tweeted out that there's a bright future ahead of Cedric Alexander. We're getting some rumors hearing that he's next bound through Evolve Cruiserweight Tournament. So, my question is, guys, do you think that TNA should make a strong run to sign him? We're hearing that they're looking to sign some ROH talents.
I think he'd be a great new addition. I'm always for getting any kind of new talent, especially when they're kind of looking to always go to WWE, just because I feel like there still is some lack of star in TNA's roster. So any potential talent is okay for me.
I absolutely. Guys, here's the thing. We talk hashtag revive the X division all the time. Here's, a huge step to doing that. And, the thing that I've thought about too is Veda Scott and Cedric Alexander. That could be possible for TNA. And can you imagine if that act were to come over into TNA? It's just huge. I guess Cedric Alexander's a North Carolina guy. So not only does that make it very possible TNA would sign him, because it seems like you have to be from North Carolina to get signed by TNA these days, but it also could just be really the only reason why Helms would text that to Cedric or tweet that to Cedric Alexander, that he has such a bright future, other than the fact that, he just flat out does. I hope to God TNA pursues the guy. I hope that they would bring him and Veda in more than anything. But, man, him against Trevor Lee, Andrew Everett, Eddie Edwards, of course, Tigray, DJZ, he would tear it up. Tear it up. So please, if anyone in TNA listens to this, just the gold mine that you have with Veda and Cedric Alexander, or just either one of the two, go for it.
Or TNA, you can listen to me and say, and pass. When I first read this rumor, somebody posted it. Start Raven Effect. I just let the air out of your balloon, buddy. My comment was, that Kevin Nash has a name for folks like Cedric Alexander. I find Cedric to be very vanilla. I think he's decent in the ring, but he's not, say, ACH in the ring. He's not, say, Matt Sydal in the ring. I think that he needs a spokesperson like Veda Scott. By the way, I'm all for signing Veda Scott. Get her there today. I don't know why they're waiting to sign Veda Scott. The girl just has a tremendous range, and she's a real bright gal too. The whole law thing is killer as well. So, big fan of hers. But as far as Cedric Alexander is concerned, I see Sugar Shane Helms tweeting this because, like Raven Effect said, they're North Carolina buddies. And I think that he says he has a bright future ahead of him, and he probably does. He's got a lot of time. He's a young kid to develop. I just don't think that he's quite where I'd like to see him yet, unless they're going to give him a mouthpiece. But they kind of already have a mouthpiece for Trevor Lee and Andrew Everett. So unless he's just going to become another, basically member of that army, I don't really know how they're going to use him too much. So I'm going to disagree with you guys on that.
Wouldn't he be a chocolate midget?
Okay. I guess
Sorry,
you could
I had
say
to do it.
I know you had to do it. I got
Don't edit it, Wake.
I got nothing against Cedric Alexander. I just, it's just my personal take on him. Now, one thing we can probably agree on is it does look like the Impact replay on Saturdays has probably been dropped by PW Insider. They were originally using it to gauge interest for maybe a second show. Of course, viewership came in lower than expected. So, my question is, Raven Effect, do you think this was even a fair gauge? You know what I'm saying? Or do you think it is just something that it was never going to get any interest because everybody would have DVR'd it the first time?
Yeah, absolutely. Most people have a DVR, at least I have to assume. But you are taking a replay of a show and putting it on a time that on the East Coast, most people are running errands. On the West Coast, most people are just fucking waking up on a Saturday, if not still asleep. Seriously. Terrible. And the fact of the matter is, if ratings are lower than expected, fucking advertise, Pop. How many people do you think watch fucking Pop TV? Okay? There's only so many That 70s Shows reruns you can watch. It's worth a shit. They literally do not do.
Hey! Don't be hating on my 70s show, brother.
I love
be
that
on the
70s
70s
show.
show.
I
Don't
own
be
them all
on
on
that.
DVD, but I'm glad it's a lead-in. But seriously, Pop TV has garbage. If it weren't for Impact, they may honestly be just as bad as Destination America. But they don't advertise TNA for shit. They didn't even advertise TNA on their upfront 2016, 2017 program, which is scary for all TNA fans, to be honest with you guys. But I mean, it's so frustrating. Like that's what you're gonna base it on. I mean, this thing went up against the NFL draft one of these weeks. Just give me a break, Pop. Like Pop TV seems. I don't want to get started yet. It's just, it's stupid. It's mind-boggling idiocracy, and it sucks that that TNA, neither TNA can afford to advertise, and Pop doesn't advertise for them either. It's just, it's terrible. It's stupid, and TNA's never really going to grow without any kind of advertising to let people know that they exist again, that their product is different than the shit that it became in 2014, hell, 2010 even. Whatever. Pop TV's just ball dropped.
Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering.
Yeah, I definitely think this sucks just because it's just another sign that we've seen before when they were on Destination America. The days of the show being aired were moved, and now this time the replay's being dropped completely. And I don't know what TNA were thinking when they decided to sort of show it over the weekend, because it was between maybe a 5-day gap. By that time, even if you don't DVR it, people are going to be able to look it up online just because people upload it in days. So for me, it sort of just gives off that the honeymoon's over kind of feeling with relationship between TNA and Pop. I'm worried because of that sort of mention of TNA not being part of next year's lineup with Pop, just because it's just deja vu again. We've seen it between Spike, we've seen it with Destination America, and now we're seeing it with Pop TV. It just worries me as a TNA fan, especially at a time where they're sort of, going into this new direction with their new roster. So I just hope that TNA can sort of figure it out, bring up those numbers, find a way to get fans interacted again into the product.
So I don't know how you can look at that and be excited, right? And I want to make sure that I say that up front, because when I'm getting ready to say it's a little bit different than what you guys said, it's a little bit different than you read online. I don't want to make this sound like this is a good thing at all, but I do want to look at it from a different angle, okay? People that are going to watch Impact are going to DVR it if they're not watching it live, right? People that DVR it are going to skip the commercials. It's what we do. We all do it, right? I skip commercials. You guys skip commercials. Everybody skips commercials. So when I look at it and I say, well, how many people are going to be like, well, I'm going to get up on Saturday morning and I'm going to watch it? And how many people are going to be like, I think I'll tape the Saturday one instead of the Tuesday one, when I could have watched it on Tuesday or Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. You know what I mean? Anyway, if I had DVR'd it on Tuesday. They advertise it as being on Tuesday. So I kind of look at it and I kind of say, well, if you're going to watch a show, you'll probably DVR it and watch it anyway. So if I'm the network, I'm saying to myself, does it really matter if I replay it? Because in theory, my impressions aren't necessarily going to be a whole lot different. But the only thing that'll happen is somebody might wander about on a Saturday morning, happen to watch it, and then start watching it on Tuesday. That's about the best thing you're going to get, is a little bit of advertising. So if you've got one showing versus two showings, and you get the same number of impressions that are watching it, you can charge a little more for advertising. Now, I don't want to get into the advertising rates because, the numbers that we saw that were reported are ridiculously low. They may or may not be true. I don't have any knowledge as to whether they are or not, but less impact, less time slots, you can theoretically maybe raise the value a little bit. As far as a possible second show is concerned, this is where we don't know what we don't know. But if they don't have the ad revenue off the main show, right, the mothership show, so to speak, what makes us think that a second show's going to be profitable anyway? What's that extra content going to be? Does it even make sense for them to film it if they can't make money off of it because they're not getting the amount of ad revenue that they need. So it's always kind of questioned the possible second show. Again, I'm not in any way, shape, or form trying to say this is a good thing, because we, of course, all want them to have a replay. We want the replay to do big numbers. We want the first show to do big numbers, and we want to have more shows because we love Impact Wrestling. We love the talent. We love the product. I just not really sure what they were going to gain by doing this to begin with. So let's go from some news which clearly isn't the best news to some news that is fantastic news. Numero 47, Tigre Uno has re-signed with Impact Wrestling. I am so ecstatic about this because the last time I saw Tigre Uno, he was jumping off the top of the cage in one of the most memorable TNA moments, period, in the history of the company.
Absolutely. You know, there was a lot of talk about Tigre Uno and a lot of speculation as to whether or not he was going to stay with the company. I know we've heard, you know, that story about him needing surgery because of, you know, that leap that he took over at the UK tour. But I am glad that we can finally confirm and put, you know, the rumors to rest that he is staying with the company. I'm a fan of the guy. I think he has a lot of talent. You know, he still needs to work on his character a bit, but for the most part, it's another star in the X Division, something that we're still, you know, driving for, you know, hashtag revive the X Division. But it just reassures me that there are still talents that are willing to stay in TNA and continue to help the company grow.
Yeah, I'm very happy that Tigre's back, guys. I mean, I was, you know, Numero hit it right on the head. You know, there was the rumors out there about the shoulder, the disagreement with TNA management and all that. I for one was shocked that Tigre re-signed, but here's the thing. I love the guy, man. I think he's improved a lot. I don't think he's improved, you know, like Jesse Goddard's has improved like insane amounts, but Tigre Uno has improved a lot. You know, English not being his first language, it's going to be kind of hard for him to, you know, develop his character. But I think, man, if you got this guy a mouthpiece and just gave him, you know, he jobbed 3 times straight to Trevor Lee and then was gone. I mean, give the guy something to work with, you know, give him some wins and a mouthpiece. Veda Scott, the guy can really go so far because, man, he's an incredible athlete. He has some great moves, does some incredibly cool things. I mean, he does that stuff in AAA, and, you know, you see that stuff, and it's like, man, him and DJZ, you know, the lucha thing that's going on. I mean, they would just tear it up, and I think, you know, put those two together as a team, put them as, you know, shit, have them wrestle. But I mean, you know, you see these matches. I mean, who doesn't want to see the Wolves versus Tigre and DJZ versus Andrew Everett and fucking Trevor Lee? It'd be great.
You know, you did mention AAA in there, and Tigre is a regular down in AAA, came from AAA. AAA is actually hosting the Lucha World Cup again this year, and we found out that Team USA, TNA, is going to include EC3, Tyrus, and Eli Drake. Allie will be joining the Canadian female team as well, so we'll have several TNA talent in it. Now, Numero, I don't know what you think of this, but the first thing that comes to my mind, EC3, Tyrus, and Eli Drake. You've got EC3 and Tyrus who don't get along very well, and you got Eli Drake that doesn't get along with anybody. So my question to you is, how good are they going to be in the Lucha World Cup?
I don't know what the circumstances were when they sort of, you know, decided who they were going to send down there. Just because even when I look at these guys, they don't really even have that sort of lucha style that, you know, Lucha Libre asks for. But I guess we're not supposed to really go, you know, base everything off of that. But I guess just to sort of send down some stars, maybe everybody else who they could have sent down were booked somewhere else. I'm more, for me, the biggest name that I'm happy to see go down to, you know, competing in this Lucha Libre World Cup is Allie, you know, part of Team Canada. So I am glad that we do have some kind of representatives out there regardless, just because it sort of builds some kind of relationships between both promotions. But I have to question the choices for Team USA. Although I will say that Ethan Carter it makes anything well. I think he's going to make USA proud for all of us, even if he has to carry Tyrus and Eli with him.
I have no idea how this was the choice for the word lucha. Yeah, clearly it makes no sense storyline wise, but I mean, it could. I'm sure it can play out very funny the way that they do it, especially with Eli Drake and EC3 on the same team. That's tell me that's not going to be hilarious. But lucha, really? Nothing about any one of these guys screams lucha, except as Eli Drake told us, he can hop up on there, jump around like a bunch of jumping jabrones and win the X Division title whenever he wants to do so. So maybe he'll prove that, but doesn't make much sense. Don't have a whole lot to say about it. Like Numero, good for Allie Cherry Bomb. She's fantastic. I'm sure whatever she'll do go over pretty well because that's Cherry Bomb probably do a whole lot more lucha style than any of the guys in that match.
I just want to see Tyrus jump over the top rope onto the outside. I want to see how many little Mexican lucha libre wrestlers it takes to catch him.
Oh, goodness.
I want to see Tyrus fly. I actually, this actually looks intriguing to me just because I think that these guys would be a complete comedy act, but also it was often said that Hogan couldn't wrestle. But over in Japan, Hogan would go out and he would put on a great wrestling match because he says, that's the fans want to see. I'd kind of like to see how these three guys actually did in a lucha type match. I'm not saying that they're going to keep up with the folks that do it all the time, the smaller wrestlers that are maybe a little bit more athletic, but I do think it would be very, very interesting. Speaking of interesting, we're through the news and it's time for the Impact review. And here comes Willow. Willow, who had the most high-pitched voice of all time, probably. And Jeff Hardy is coming out to expose Willow. And Raven, we wind up with a match and a beatdown and your buddy Matt Hardy.
Yeah, we did. Willow the Wisp came out sounding a whole lot like Willow the Neutered. Does anyone not think that may have been like Nora Furnham or Dewey Barnes? It was the first Willow. That dude was like a fucking twig, man. Like the guy had no muscle definition. It was like, let's find the scrawniest person we could find. So I'm thinking like it's either got to be Spud, but Spud's shorter and has a better physique, at least muscle wise. So I'm thinking like it's got to be Norv or Dewey that was in there, but.
You know what I thought it sounded like? I thought it sounded like that time that Wake stepped on your balls right before the podcast. That's
right?
What I thought it sounded like, man. That was awful.
What I thought was funny was the Pope when the second Willow came out and the Pope was like, this Willow's in better shape than the last one. And then it's like the third one comes out and it's like, wow, this third Willow is actually in worse shape of them all.
It's got to be Matt Hardy because who else could it be, right?
I told everyone on the show, if you noticed, there was a beer belly on Willow last week. There we go. Good old Fat Hardy. This was literally the only thing about this week's show that sucked. After this segment, man, Impact kicked ass. Shitty reveal, dead silent crowd, predictable as all hell. Matt Hardy goes from a good character that was overexposed to now just a shitty character, resembling his 2011 TNA Matt Hardy that had the braids or the dreads or whatever the hell that is. And God, I have nothing more to say about it, guys.
I was sort of wondering what was going on with all these Willows, and I guess I didn't realize until you guys brought it up, the different body forms and all. But I was excited, I was invested at least to see the beginning of this match. But I blinked and it was over. So that was sort of just tells me, well, they just want to get into the big reveal, and I sort of kind of figured it was going to be Matt Hardy anyway, and I just have to say that. I don't know. I guess I don't know where he was in the weeks when he was away from TNA, but he just looks awful. I don't know if that was, sort of the message or why they wanted to go with. But I was not really excited to see this kind of feud sort of reignite. I am glad that it's away from the main event scene. That it just sort of gives me another feeling that we're gonna have to dread, more of Hardy versus Hardy after they pretty much, had that big I Quit match that sort of set everything off.
You know, I look at this and, I read the spoilers, as you guys know. I know, Raven, you've read the spoilers as well. And so you know it's coming. You know Matt Hardy's behind it. You know this thing's just going to continue. What I will say about it was a little bit more interesting than I thought it was going to be. It was maybe a little bit better than I thought it was going to be. But it's kind of been the same this whole Matt Hardy run since the beginning of the year. It's been very well booked, right? But I'm just like, whatever. It doesn't excite me. Now,
It's still Matt Hardy.
because it's still Matt Hardy. Now, let's talk about the next segment. So we go from one segment, which is actually pretty well booked, but doesn't really get me excited at all, to another segment, which was actually horribly booked, but really got me excited. And that, of course, is Bye Bye Velvet Sky.
Celebrate good times. Come on.
Woohoo!
You suck, Velvet.
I think I'm the one that sucked there with my singing. But it's been a while since I've sang on the show, so we got to bring that back.
You kicked some fat rhymes today, and now you're singing as well.
That's right. Hey man, I'm on. I'm the musician. Forget that. Okay.
You're really challenging Eco for that #1 spot.
That's right, man. That's my goal is to take out Eco Pro. You know that. So Allie gets introduced, and of course she mentions. I don't know if you guys caught this, but she has a cherry of a roll.
I caught it.
And you bet you did catch a cherry, didn't you? And she tells Velvet if she loses, she's fired. Of course, everybody knows what's going to happen. We all know Velvet's gone from the company. So Sienna comes out and defeats Velvet, and Velvet's gone. Numero, you can tell what Raven Effect and TNA do think of Velvet Sky. What's your take on this whole thing and how she was let go from the company after so many years?
Like you guys said, TNA pretty much spoiled into this match before it even happened, so there was no real surprise as to who was going to win or not. I thought the match was incredibly short. I know at one point they were actually talking about Velvet's departure, and they played the entire match as part of the Earlier Tonight segment. It just goes to show you how short the match was, but I guess it didn't necessarily need to be long. It served its purpose. It got Sienna over. It got rid of Velvet. But even when she came back last summer, I feel like aside from maybe a new attitude, a new look, and maybe 1 or 2, 3 moves, she didn't really bring anything new to the table. She came in to feud with the Beautiful People. They got back together. They had a couple losses, so there's nothing really lost. The only good thing about this whole thing was Velvet's involvement sort of at least glued in these two debuting knockouts, which were Sienna and Allie, which I'm really excited for. And I think it's still a little too early to tell, to get into depth about Allie's gimmick so far, but I am glad that she's, around Maria. Maria's the highlight of the division at the moment. So she gets, some kind of rub off of that. And I do hope that we see more of Allie beyond the managing role that she's sort of playing, because she's sort of this apprentice right now. So I just hope that it just transitions into the ring soon.
You're right about the thing about Allie, because it seems Cherry Bomb is such a good wrestler. Why have her in this kind of a role? But we have it on pretty good authority that it's going to turn out being really, really good the way that Cherry Bomb goes. So I'm actually excited to see to see where it goes to. Man, you talk about a massive, just major, triumphant, extremely out of the blue, major, the best babyface turn I have ever seen in wrestling. The way that Sienna just turned face in that match. She is a hero to TNA, to wrestling everywhere. I mean, thank you, Sienna, for everything that you did. The entire Impact Wrestling crowd, fans everywhere. You are a hero. Everyone is behind you for that amazing face turn. Bye-bye, Velvet.
Raven Effect, you were actually nice that time, brother. How'd that happen?
Shouldn't we be talking about our favorite Velvet moments? Didn't we do that with all the other TNA departures?
We did.
So, anybody want to go first?
Let's go with dude.
You wanna
Dude.
go with dude. So my favorite Velvet Sky moment. It would have to be a ring entrance, like all of them. That's about it. I look at Velvet, and look, I'm hard on Velvet. I'm not as hard on Velvet as Raven Effect is.
I'm hard on for Velvet.
You got a hard one for everybody, dude. You wanted to have sex with me when you found out I was Rosemary's twin brother. So come on, man.
Still stand by this statement.
I'm not even a good-looking dude.
Good looking
But-
TNA dude.
But honestly, the thing about Velvet was that she got over the fans. Nobody ever knew how or why she got over the fans, but she sold a lot of merchandise, and it kept her around for a long time. Her in-ring ability never progressed. Okay, she was never that good in the ring. She never had a great mic skills or anything else like that. She was just a girl that was always there. She was just somebody that TNA could count on to basically sell merchandise. And it sounds like a terrible thing to say, but that's actually a pretty big compliment. Don't you think, Numero?
Yeah, I always say that anytime TNA can sort of, make money, they should do it just because TV shouldn't be their only revenue. So if moving merchandise was something that Velvet was able to do, then hey, she served her purpose. But I guess I'll go next with my favorite Velvet Sky moment. I think this is kind of there's so many choices. But I guess I'll say I really like her feud with Karen Jarrett. Just sort of because it was this on and off thing she had with an authority figure, and I'm always into all that just because I would love to yell at my boss the same way that some of these people get to do it.
I think my favorite Velvet moment was last year when she came back. You talk about a phenomenal job at unintentional comedy. She was trying to do this role of Stone Cold Velvet Sky, but truthfully, I mean, she looked like she was Crazy Steve's twin sister with the way she did her makeup. I mean, and I'm not talking Crazy Steve now. I'm talking Crazy Steve with the horn.
Raven Effect, you would like to squeeze her horns.
Of course.
Okay, I'm just saying.
I'm not going to be the guy that says, "Oh, no." After all that surgery, I still think she's a good-looking girl, like very good-looking, but she's very plastic and fake. But great job, Velvet. Hilarious. But I will say this. So, and I think it was 2008. When it was Angelina and Velvet and Lacey Von Erich, which later went into Madison Rayne. Basically, when the beautiful people first, were together as a group and doing their thing, and it was really good the very first time around. It was very, very good stuff, and I'll give credit there. It was a good act. Angelina was the main star as a wrestler because, Angelina was the one that could wrestle, but I think that both Velvet and Madison really stole the show as characters and for their look. That's really the highlight of it for me with Velvet.
Yeah, the beautiful people, they were definitely over. And you have to give her a lot of credit for her part in the beautiful people. But, looking back on those days, it definitely was Angelina's group. And then later it transitioned to be Madison's group. I guess part of it is you kind of always wind up comparing her to Madison, where Madison actually got better and, continued on. Now, look, one of the things that did happen here is that she did kind of come off as a badass at the end as she, went after Allie. And reading the Impact coverage, Van the Man made a comment, and I told him that I was going to talk about this on the show, that it reminded him of Stacy Keibler's old WCW persona, Miss Hancock. And I said, look, tune in. I'm going to tell you an interesting nugget concerning me and Miss Hancock. And I'm not going to lie, this is the truth. So back when Stacy was in WCW as Miss Hancock, I'm watching the show one night with my brother, and she comes across the screen, and TNA Dudette walks in the room, and she goes, "What's Stacy doing on the television?" I'm like, "Who is Stacy?" She points at Miss Hancock. I go, "Oh, that's her real name," because I didn't know at the time. And it turns out that she went to grade school with Stacy Keibler. Knows her quite well. So, any rate, Van the Man, there is your little nugget with TNA Dude and Miss Hancock. And I will say that the picture that the NMCW posted of Allie really looks like Miss Hancock, except with a nicer rack. And I definitely do see the resemblance there. This was definitely a changing of the guard for TNA, as they had the new girls push the old girl out. I think in a lot of ways that's a good thing, but Velvet was there for so long, and these girls have really just gotten to the show that I kind of look at it as, it's almost a bit of a cheap shot. But Raven Effect, in my mind, brother, you hit the nail on the head when you said that it was the fastest and best face turn anybody's ever done from Sienna.
Absolutely. You know, another fun fact, real fast, guys. I'm sorry you just got me started on Stacy. Not only is Raven Effect hooked up with TNA Dude's twin sister, but also his wife's grade school friend as well.
Dude, you've been messing with everybody I know, Arthur.
I get around. What can I say? Like Tupac Shakur.
I'm telling you, man, you probably got more penises in your car than anybody I've ever met.
Good old wing car. It's a car full of dicks.
You're just one big slut.
And drawn all over them. I'll get to that later, gentlemen.
So at any rate, I'm sorry I had to go there. Couldn't help myself. So let's talk about the lifestyles of the rich and Canella/Bennett's. This was basically just, I guess, their way of introducing, Mike and Maria and getting them into there. But I got to say something. This whole segment with Bennett and Earl Hebner, I know, Raven, you said that you didn't like the first segment. To me, this was just sort of like silly stupid. I felt like they could have done more with Mike Bennett than just this.
Yeah, when I read it on the spoilers, I was thinking, really? I forgot all about this. Like, literally, when I watched this episode of Impact, I had forgotten so much from these spoilers. Like, it was almost watching a brand new show. Give credit, though, because FK9 last week said, when we were talking the Hall of Fame, he said, I'd like to see Mike Bennett do something where he, tries to induct himself into the Hall of Fame and, he wrestles Hall of Famers and whatnot. So this was actually kind of close to it. So props to that. But yeah, it was, what does it accomplish, really? It's legitimately scary to see Earl Hebner go out there and take a fucking bump like that. Any bump. Seriously, the guy's got to be in his 80s. I'm not even kidding. Like, senior citizens fall and fucking die. This dude's taking a bump. I don't mean that in an offensive, joking way. Like, that shit legitimately happens. And I'm sorry if anyone had a relative that's, fallen down and passed from that, but
Did you not think
I'm just
that's
being honest. Like, Earl Hebner is taking a fucking bump, man. He's like, goddamn, he's got to be over 80.
Dude, I thought that they should have censored the thing when he took his shirt off. The last thing I wanted to see was Earl Hebner with his shirt off.
That was the first thing I wanted to see.
If somebody was going to have, an equipment malfunction, right? Could it have been one of the knockouts? Why did it have to be Earl Hebner? Numero, clearly this is not something you wanted to see.
I did not. I had no idea this was coming. First of all, I don't even know what was the purpose of this match. I guess it was sort of just so that Mike can say that he didn't know TNA Hall of Famer. That, it's Earl Hebner. It's somebody who didn't even get a proper ceremony. So what merit is that? I thought the match was surprisingly entertaining. I don't want to say entertaining because that sounds good. I'm surprised it went as long as it did, and that Earl got as much offense as he did. He kicked out, which is something that I'd never seen him do. Even in
I
his
think
early
it was his
days.
pacemaker. I think his pacemaker jerked him forward.
It's unbelievable. I feel like I've seen him take worse bumps, and he's out for the rest of the match. But he's able to kick out of this. He throws his elbow. He takes his shirt off. It was just too much nonsense for my take. I will say that EC3 beating Earl Hebner was much better booked.
I think he should have taken his shirt off Hulk Hogan style, right? And pranced around the ring, showing us his muscles. That's what I think.
It's ironic. We talk how many times on the show about, there's going to be a wardrobe malfunction in TNA, and it's going to be Rebby Sky that does it. And it's going to be Earl Hebner and his dangling balls. Testicles start to drop so much lower at that age. Earl's balls are going to be coming through the bottom of his slacks one of these days.
Well, we know Madison Rain was drooling, that's for sure, right?
No, hell yeah.
She's got a thing for old Earl, if you guys remember that.
I remember it. I don't blame her.
So
He's a real Hugh Hefner, that Earl Hebner. Baby Earl.
I think his real last name is actually Hafner. It's not Ebner, it's Hafner. So EC3 comes to the rescue, and the first thing I'm thinking as EC3 comes to the rescue is, so why did he wait until Earl finally got knocked out, right? Here you've got the 85-year-old man, getting beat up by the 30-something, guy, and he comes out at the end, right? And, of course, here's your hero, EC3. Bennett, of course, says, EC3, you're going to face Tyrus in a last man standing match. Now, I got to say something to you, Raven. I know you love this show, and honestly, this is probably one of the best shows of the year. And shockingly, there was absolutely no decay anywhere. For me, it's always going to be one of my favorite shows because they got rid of Velvet. But I want you to think about this for a second. We had a match with a stipulation that if Velvet gets fired, she loses. We had a match.
If she loses, she gets fired.
Exactly. If we had a match that involved a referee, right, who took his shirt off, we're now having a last man standing match. The main event is a lumberjack match. And oh, wait a minute. Jeff Hardy wrestled himself. Willow. Like, WTF. Every match is a special match, buddy.
Well, there was that one lone tag team match that was not, but very good point. I never thought about that. Literally never thought about that once. Never dawned on me, but
does that say that maybe creative is doing something right that you didn't think about it either?
yeah, absolutely. Look, I'm not going to be the one to crap all over creative. I mean, we've talked continuity issues at times on here, but this is still by far, 2016, it's the best TNA's done television show-wise, storyline-wise, creative-wise since, the very end of 2009, in my opinion. I still stand by it. I'm glad that the ratings jumped up this week to 311,000 because, honest to God, after this show, who's not going to turn in? Like, no one can watch Impact this past week and say, no, WWE is better. No, fuck that. I love ROH. I love ROH. I watch ROH every week, but Jesus, man, Impact was so much better. And I know we're going to get back to EC3 and Tyrus, but that match was so much better than I expected it to be, too. This was by far the best match Tyrus has ever had.
Absolutely. And I was completely surprised by, how much drive Tyrus and EC3 brought across from each other. I think they work really well. They have in the past as allies, but, as foes, they still carry that sort of chemistry. And I got to say that Ethan Carter is just like Superman. That, him slamming Tyrus over that rail, it was a huge bump. And, he wasn't even done with that. I thought that was going to be the end of the match. He went ahead and just grabbed the steel, he lifted the steel steps and just continued and continued. And I was just impressed in everything. I love this match a lot. And again, kind of what you guys were saying, it was a lot better than what I was expecting.
Yeah, with a Tyrus match, look, I'll be honest, I've never once looked forward to a Tyrus match until this one. I was actually looking forward to this match because the mere fact that, look at the history between EC3 and Tyrus. Tyrus turned on EC3. He lost the belt. He went with Matt Hardy. Like, this was technically the first legitimate loss for EC3, even though his shoulders weren't pinned to the mat. So I was excited because this match was going to happen because how do you not do EC3 versus Tyrus at some point? Because that should have been, all logic says that should have been one of the matches that has happened months ago. But they did it, and, EC3 had this chemistry with Rockstar Spud when they had their first match. It was just out of control and put on just a fantastic match. EC3 likely has the same kind of a chemistry going on with Tyrus because, they were working together for so long. And then you see EC3 come out and have the best match Tyrus has ever had by far. And it was a good match with Tyrus in it. And just credit to EC3, credit to Tyrus, great chemistry, very, very, very good match.
I thought it was a good match too, actually. I thought that, both men did a very good job. I think Tyrus has really improved recently, and it could be because they're saying, Tyrus, do more. We're going to maybe put you on your own a little bit more. You're seeing him coming out. There was no Matt Hardy there. It didn't fit to have Matt Hardy there, but he wasn't in any of the Willow segments because I didn't see a Willow that looked like he was 500 pounds. So, it seems like he's picking it up, and maybe he's being asked to do a little bit more. The one thing, though, that I will say, we saw a crossbody from EC3 in this match. We seem to be seeing a lot more high flying these days in TNA than we've seen in the past. And it just kind of makes me wonder if TNA isn't trying to maybe change their style up a little bit and be a little bit more high flying.
Yeah, that sort of is what we saw in the next match between the X Division stars. It was great to actually see the X Division on our TVs again, just because it's something that the fans have been asking.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
I really like this match. I will say I think DJZ was a star for me in this match. I love his new look. I love that he, sort of toned down that sort of DJ kind of persona that he was playing with before when he was with the Bromance. And man, he just moved quick. For me, he embodies with the X Division. That jumping DDT towards the end was just incredible for me. And he got the win. So I am hoping that, TNA continue to invest in this guy, continue to invest in the X Division. And it was just a good start for me.
I love the match. I thought it was a great match. I was so excited to see the X Division featured, and I was so excited to see them bring in extra characters for it. Because I'll tell you, the thing that ROH does very well is they have a roster which size-wise rivals TNA, but they only have 1 hour of TV. So what they do is they bring a lot of bodies in. They let them jump all over each other. I mean, if you think about it, if you're going to have people flying out of the ring, somebody's got to catch you. And so when you have more of these guys in there, it allows them to do more jumps. It also allows them to stay fresher, right? It's kind of hard to sprint back and forth across the ring for 15 minutes and not tag out. So I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I think DJZ, I think hit the nail on the head. He just looks better and better every time we see him wrestle. I'm not talking about that funny thing he wears on his face. I'm talking about his actual in-ring ability. He's just really tearing it up this year. This was a great match, and here's what I want to know. Did you guys notice the fans? They were standing at the end. They were applauding. I mean, the X Division has always been a cornerstone of Impact Wrestling. We know that, right? But we also know that Josh Matthews said, the X Division has always been a cornerstone of Impact Wrestling. There's only one X Division, and you can see it every Tuesday night on Impact, on Pop. Now, Josue, are you buying that?
I think Josh Matthews is just Josh Matthews. He says whatever he wants just to sort of pitch the idea of whatever's going on at the moment. Of course I don't buy it. But I'm glad that it was mentioned this time around. But come on, TNA, give us, put your money where your mouth is. Give us more X Division. Give us a storyline. You have this group so far. It's an investment. You're giving us Eddie Edwards in the X Division again. Just keep working at it if you're really gonna, say that the X Division is something that we need to see every week.
Well, this gives me hope that they're listening to us. But I'll tell you what else gives me hope. That they might actually be reading Nevermore like the rest of us. Because I'm watching this match, and all of a sudden in the bottom right corner of my screen is a picture-in-picture promo. And I'm thinking to myself, I've heard this before. I've read this before. And somebody's been reading Nevermore. Now, of course, they did it to reduce the time they gave the X Division, but Raven Effect, I have a question, buddy. Did you turn your pants brown when you saw that? Because you must have been going ecstatic. I bet you peed yourself.
I was actually going to say I turned them both brown and yellow. I marked the fuck out. My wife was sitting there and I was like, oh my God, you don't even know what's going on right now. They're actually, I swear they're listening to me. I've never thought that they did. I'm still not going to go there, but they did the thing that I've been screaming for to be done for so long now.
Years. It's been years, hasn't it? Yeah. I mean, this has been going on for like years. I mean, this was epic stuff. I know probably nobody else thought much of it, but this is a tribute to Raven Effect. I think Gaburik did it because you've been sucking up to him.
Maybe, and everyone knows I love Gaburik more than anyone else out there. So much. Thank you. But no, it was awesome. And look, man, this is what I've been saying. The WWF used to do this in the late 80s. You know, a match would be going on, and there you go, bottom right-hand corner of the screen. I always say Demolition because I just remember Demolition they stood out to me when I was little, and I think they were really the first thing that really attracted me to love watching wrestling was seeing them on advertisements. But, man, like, do this more often so you can get people like Aiden O'Shea can get TV time, Tigre Uno can get over, stuff like that when things are going on. And it worked. Unfortunately, yeah, it probably did to give the X Division less TV time. But you can do this with everyone to get everyone more TV time. This match was awesome. You know, we talk about hashtag revive the X Division. Here is living proof as to why this needs to happen.
Oh, yeah!
Best match of the night. Some very good matches happened tonight. This was the best one. And you guys, I'm 100% in unison with you. DJZ stole the show. Numero brought up a great point about him really toning down the obnoxious DJ type of thing. He reminds me of, you know, John Ralphio from Parks and Recreation. I've said that a couple times. His old character did. It was just so obnoxious that you want to fucking punch the guy in the face, but it's not good heel heat. It's just go the fuck away heat. Awesome. Dude, the Lucha Libre stuff he's been working on, he's done so good this year. And, you know, guys, in January, he said this could be my last year in TNA, and I believe he said his contract is up in June. We're 2 weeks away from June. This guy's got to be re-signed. He is doing just phenomenal work. And it'd be awful to see him go to Lucha Underground. It'd be awful to see him do this Cruiserweight tournament, Evolve, whatever it is. You know, please, TNA, re-sign DJZ. I want Eddie Edwards to be the X Division champion, not DJZ. But you got to keep DJZ around for a while. And, you know, him and Eddie, it seems like it's a feud that could happen, definitely.
I'll be honest with you. You know, I think that they need to not just keep DJZ. I think they need to put gold around his waist again. It's been a long time since he's got a title run, and he's a heck of a lot better than he was then. I do agree with you, Raven Effect. I think you give to Eddie Edwards first. But Eddie Edwards isn't going to carry that belt for a lengthy period of time because David Richards is going to come back. And my guess is that they're headed straight for the decay. So unless we want to see the X Division falter off again where the champion's fighting for the tag titles, I think he's going to have to drop it. And what better a guy to drop it and put gold on DJZ. Now, speaking of gold, we go to a next segment in the show, which is about a guy who's trying to get some gold. He thinks he should be the X Division champion. He thinks he can go be champion in any division. All he's got to do is turn it on. Of course, that is Eli Drake. And the facts of life. Now, I'm going to tell you guys something right now. Here's a fact of life. The dummy button is way, way too overutilized. And, yeah. Lose the yeah. You know.
Yeah.
They're gonna well, Raven, you know what I'm getting ready to say, buddy. They're gonna kill Eli Drake by putting him in this segment. And yeah, I know it was better this time than it was last time, but it was god awful the last time. Let's put the guy in a position so he can succeed. And if you're gonna put him in this, don't say, yeah, dummy, yeah. You know, freaking do something better with him.
Well, I actually missed last week's, I guess, the last time Eli Drake had his Facts of Life segment. So this was all fresh to me.
You didn't miss much, buddy.
Okay, well, that's a good thing. So I could only, base everything off of this. Well, I guess I'll throw my fashion ticket to Eli Drake this week because of his Chippendales wannabe kind of vest. Wasn't a fan of it. I don't know what they were trying to do with that.
This has been the latest from Fashion 47.
going to the actual, segment with Bram, I am glad that they are at least building up these mid guys because, they need to be on TV as well. I think Bram, he's still sort of new in this sort of face, since his face turn. I'm excited to see this feud play out, but I want to make sure that they sort of, build more to it. We know that Eli Drake is, a good talker, so that's sort of why they probably, gave him this segment. But I think there are other ways to work around it. So I just hope that they can just make those tweaks to go to carry this feud on.
Honestly, really liked the Facts of Life this week. I really did. When he was fucking making fun of the crowd and he talked about the guy who can't get out of his mom's basement, that cracked me up. Look, we have to deal with the internet wrestling community. I'm going to guess a huge majority of the internet wrestling community can't get out of their mother's basement and don't care to get out of their mother's basement. But
Hey, wait a minute. What's wrong with living in my mother's basement?
I love living in your mom's basement.
Do you have any idea how many times Rosemary's tied me up there and left me there for days?
You know how many times she's tied me up there and left me there for days?
You would have to bring that up again, wouldn't you?
I would.
Coming out of my basement,
Yeah.
finding your naked body sitting there. Yeah.
That was awful for all parties involved.
Yeah, and you
I got the
thought
worst
Earl
one.
Hebner
No one
looked
wants to
bad
look
with
at
his
this
shirt
body.
off. Exactly.
More hair than a goddamn gorilla. Moving on. Great. I thought he did great. It definitely improved over when he had the bromance. I think they toned down the use of the dummy button. Yeah, and it worked a lot better. Sign me up for Eli Drake versus Bram. I'm a huge fan of both of these guys. I think this is, you talk about the mid card. These are two guys who should be at the mid card. These are two guys who should be like for an intercontinental title that means a lot, kind of a thing. A United States title, a television title. Like we have the King of the Mountain title, which could possibly become the international title if we're to believe some photos we've seen online. But also, just the side note, you read it in Nevermore where Eli Drake would win the King of the Mountain title and get rid of that red belt and bring in a new one that is a little more prestigious. So just want to bring that up too in case this actually does happen. But man, I cannot wait for an Eli Drake versus Bram feud, and I hope that Eli gets the belt. I think it's done a whole lot better than last week, and I actually want to see more of the Facts of Life. Definitely tone down the dummy, button, like TNA dude says, but I think it's a lot better than it was.
The one thing I want to point out here, and you guys didn't really touch on it much, is the fact, Bram was also there. Bram looks fantastic with gold around his waist. When he comes out wearing that championship belt, he looks like a champion. He's a big guy that wears it really, really well. And I just thought we really got a good tease for things to come. And, to me, it is a lot like they've been teasing Galloway and Lashley. It seems like they're trying to actually build this mid-card title and build this match to the mid-card title a little bit, which is something that, let's face it, guys, TNA has not done in years. Really, maybe ever, to be honest with you. I mean, I know years ago watching the WWF, the intercontinental title matches, they always used to mean something. There always used to be a build. But they're actually doing that. It's not that hard, but they're actually doing it. But the other match that they really built up well was, Galloway and Lashley. And, again, they made it a lumberjack match. But, Raven Effect, I got a question for you. And I'm going to see how astute of a listener that you are. So, in this set of tapings, there's been a fan behind the railing. In this match, Galloway was thrown over the top rope, right, to the lumberjacks. And he really almost landed on this fan. Did you notice anything special about that fan, my friend?
Literally not at all. I don't even know what you're talking about.
You don't even know what I'm talking about. He was wearing a jersey. Nothing. He was wearing a Torrey Smith jersey. Do you like Torrey Smith?
That's a terrible team.
Terrible team. Well, actually, it wasn't a terrible team. It was from when he was with, you got it, buddy, not your favorite team, your namesake, the Ravens. Yes, a special shout out to our buddy, the Ravens fan, with the Torrey Smith jersey sitting in the front row of Impact.
Torrey Smith is cool because he's on the Niners now. Screw the Ravens.
He was cooler when he was on the Ravens, man.
No, not at all.
So apparently,
cheap Super Bowl victory.
very cheap Super Bowl because they beat a bad team. What can I tell you?
They beat a bad team with worse officiating. How do you all those no calls?
Shutting the lights out, right?
We got to do what we had to do.
So let's talk about murder victims. Let's talk about Lashley and how he's probably going to try to murder Galloway because he's so freaking tough. What do you think about the match?
They gave too much of this match going. I have to assume that this is still going to go to Slammiversary and be the main event, but they gave too much of this match. Don't give us most of... they probably went for, what, like 8-10 minutes? Don't give us any fucking Galloway versus Bobby Lashley. Don't let them fucking touch each other in a wrestling ring until Slammiversary. Build the match. It's not common sense. It works. However, I will say this. The match itself, while it happened, was pretty good. These two can have a good match, but what happened afterwards was insane. I'm going Don West on you. That was insane. I don't know if we're going to... I'm not going to say much on it right now because I'm going to let you guys talk about the match itself before we go to the ending. But, man, the ending to this show was fucking nuts. It was awesome. Awesome stuff.
Yeah, I think, when I first heard there was a lumberjack, I was surprised to see, the stipulation. It's because I guess maybe it's a stipulation that we don't really see often in TNA, or at least I haven't seen too often. So I do agree that it was too soon to throw these two together, but I guess better now than too soon to Slammiversary because, I'm assuming this is going to be when they have their big blowout again. That it was a physical. I really enjoyed it. I think it was a worthy main event. They were really physical. I was surprised to see the DQ ending though, so it was a little disappointing. But I understand the reason for it, just so that they can continue to carry this feud. I just hope that they make those building blocks, and I agree going off with what Raven says. Make sure that they don't really necessarily touch each other. It's more so of building each other and giving off why they should, be champion. I really did like, the production of sort of, I guess, those training videos. I think TNA had done a great job, inserting those again. And I just want to make sure that we're invested as much as we have been up to this point.
Yeah, so I'm going to say fuck the match because I don't remember shit about this match. I only remember the ending. Look, Ravenback, you may not want to blow your wad on the ending, buddy, but I'm going to blow my wad on this ending. I'm probably going to do it a couple times here. Look, I know Drew Galloway's been putting on some of the best matches I've seen in recent memory, and I know that there's only ever going to be one Kurt Angle, but there's a lot of Kurt Angle-esque traits to Galloway, so I want to give him a little bit of credit, but the hell with this. This match ending was absolutely ridiculous. We have DJZ out of nowhere just dives over and takes out everybody. And I'm typing notes, and I got everybody in all caps because I'm just going nuts because he did this. All of a sudden, here comes Robbie E. He's flying. Then Trevor Lee, he explodes over the top. I'm like, wow. Next thing you know, Eddie Edwards, it's his turn, and I'm getting ready to say he's going to go, but Andrew Everett climbs up, and I'm like, what's going to happen next? He superplexes Andrew Everett off the top ropes to the outside. The freaking X Division's running wild. I'm going nuts. Guys, this is what I've been asking for. You got lots of guys getting involved. You got lots of actions, and we're not even close to being done. Because all of a sudden, Bram's up. I don't know why, but he takes out Lashley, which I think is cool as all hell because it means that maybe there could be something between the two of them coming up. But then Eli Drake takes out Bram. That makes sense. And Jeff Hardy, he just takes out Eli Drake. And then Matt Hardy, he takes out Jeff. Next thing you know, Mike Bennett's removing Eli Drake. He gets confronted by EC3, but he's going to run off. But then here comes Lashley to knock over EC3. We've got our Bound for Glory, tease here. The next thing you know, Lashley gets claymored by Galloway. Galloway flies. Guys, did I get all that right on that breath? This is awesome.
You're telling me, man, like literally the only critique I could have about the ending of this is what I think this sells a pay-per-view. This should be like the hype going into Slammiversary on the Go Home show. But
Raymond, you said it. I'm sorry to cut you off, buddy, but I got to do it here. You said earlier about keeping those guys away from them till Slammiversary. Could you imagine if this happened at Slammiversary?
phenomenal ending. I mean, what a way to end the show. I mean, this was literally one of the cooler things I've ever seen. It's pay-per-view stuff. What DJZ did was awesome, and I'm thinking like, fuck, DJZ just completely is stealing the X division, and then this is happening, and I'm thinking, revive the X division. Like, is this happening? What Eddie Edwards did with that superplex, I think, completely stole everything.
Holy fucking shit, man. Holy shit.
Like, I've never seen that done ever in wrestling. Never. Be so awesome. Like, yeah, you talk about holy shit, man. Holy shit. I've never seen anything like that. It was so awesome. Like, just an incredible ending. Trevor Lee, the stuff. I honestly, I was going nuts. Like, fuck, is Eli Drake going to cash in? Because he hits Bram with that briefcase. And I'm like, oh shit, here it is. Didn't happen, but oh man, I've saved Impact on the DVR because I was trying to write the itinerary for the show. I was trying to do some promoting on Twitter for this. Watching it live, I haven't even been able to watch Impact like I wanted to. But this show was so good. I think it's the best show, and man, I've never ever seen an ending like that. It was awesome, just awesome. It's just like this should have been the close to Slammiversary, in my opinion, is all.
Dude, it was flipping epic. It was just unbelievable. You know what? Velvet Sky could have won this week, and I still would have been happy. Numero, I would have, buddy.
No comment on that.
You would have been upset. It didn't mean enough to
I would
you.
have. She's a non-factor to me anyway. But I am all in all that this was a great Impact, one of the better ones that we've had in a long time, and that's why I want TNA to continue to bring these kind of shows because it's something that we're not seeing in any of the other wrestling shows that are out there. It was a surprise ending, and for me, that's the biggest thing I always ask for when it comes to wrestling. Shock me, surprise me. It's one of the reasons why I avoid the spoilers and everything. And, I think this definitely just did that. I might not have as much energy as you guys, but man, I was jumping up and down when I was watching everything on TV. I had to watch it twice.
This is like what I was saying earlier, man. Like this is why I'm glad that the ratings went up for this show, because how on earth do you watch Impact this weekend? It's a good show all the way through, but then you get this ending. How do you not tune in next week? How do you not want to see what happens next?
Well, and that's the key, right? I mean, this shouldn't really affect this week's show. It should affect next week's show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, if TNA is smart, what they're going to do, and Raven Effect, honestly, maybe we got to do it for them. They had to put this thing all over Twitter. This is how you do it, and just start with GZG taking everybody out. Boom, on your way.
Absolutely, man, and show that Eddie Edwards superplex. I mean, show Trevor Lee, show Galloway, show fucking Robbie E. Just show it all. I mean, get it out there. And like I said, I'm not gonna say I love. I know I said love earlier. I really like Ring of Honor. You don't see that in Ring of Honor. You sure as hell don't see that shit in WWE, which I hate. I despise that company from top to bottom. I will not watch them. But you don't see that crap. You do not see stuff so awesome there. You see some watered down kiddie stuff with terrible TV promos by terrible script writers every week. With Impact, you're getting the promos. They let the guys go out there and they let them talk and they let them become stars, because look at what Mike Bennett has done in TNA compared to what he was in ROH. Miles above what he's done character-wise. And then, TNA still puts on very good matches when they let their guys have the time to do it. The X Division match and how it ended tonight, I mean, you don't get that anywhere else. And it's a damn shame that Pop TV isn't promoting them right. It's a damn shame that Dixie Carter and company are not budging and marketing and advertising their product. It's a damn shame that there's some stupid internet fucking filth or stench or whatever on TNA, because 2016, man, except for like 2 or 3 shows, has been awesome. And this was just the best thing I've seen in a long time, man. This is like one of the best Impacts I think I've ever watched. Am I right, guys?
Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Dude, are you still there?
I can't hear either one of you. I'm gone.
You can't?
No,
Can you hear me?
no,
No.
no,
Yes, he can.
no. I
He
can't.
clearly can hear us.
I can't hear you either, Raven.
Shut the fuck up.
That's
So
not getting edited out, is it?
No, it's not.
But here's the thing, guys, right? Because we are at the end of the show now, right? And we do have a sound off question.
We do.
We do have a sound off question. And the sound off question this week is, so folks, this is the 20th edition of the HeelCast. We've been serious, we've been goofy, and we've done a kick-ass interview. We've been really
Making
goofy, actually.
strides.
We've screwed up on the air. We've done things right. Our question to you, the HeelCasters, what do you like the most? What do you want to see more of? What don't you like? And by the way, for what don't you like, outtakes from Wake Chambers. Raven Effect getting edited. These are the things we want to see in the comments section.
Psst, don't listen to them.
But let us know, especially what we haven't done that you'd like to see us do. Basically, we want your feedback. We want to make the show a better show for you, the HeelCasters,
Helians,
and the entire TNA fan base.
absolutely. And guys, before we let this off, as we talked, TNA Dude has talked about how we wanted to do this question. And the truth is, we have an answer already. An answer came yesterday a little bit. One of my best friends in the entire world, Dan, who was upset that I did not give him a shout out, who is a loyal listener to this show. A man who at one point in life drew 20, 30 penises on my car that I could not wipe off or wash off. You have no idea the physical labor that it took to wipe all of these dicks off of my car.
Did he buy you
And
condoms for him?
He didn't. He's unsafe. He's very unsafe. He's an asshole, but
He's an asshole, yeah.
he's still one of my favorite people in the world. But Dan, who is the funniest man I've ever met in the entire world as well, provided some feedback. And please, ladies and gentlemen, realize that my friend Daniel is hilarious, and he's not a guy who's probably taken anything serious in his life. However, Daniel here says that he does have a suggestion if you'd like to hear it. He says, talk about other TV shows like how the Detour on TBS is killing it. And also talk about shit that pisses you off. He says that you shine when ranting about shit that pisses you off. It's really good, Matt. Really good and mad. It is amazing. And then he says that Matt Hardy, as I mentioned earlier, has the worst body since William Regal, and that he's terrible. So Daniel, thank you. Now, HeelCast listeners, help us gain viewers, help us gain ratings, help us help you. What makes the HeelCast better? What makes the HeelCast suck? What's not so good? What's your favorite stuff? We want to improve the show for you.
Yeah, I think Dan sounds like somebody we should have on the show someday. So I think I think we've made a lot of strides in only 20 weeks. We've gotten an interview with Rosemary and Crazy Steve. Apparently they are reading Raven Effects Nevermore. So I think that we are making strides. That we do this because we're all TNA fans. So I think if you guys have anything, you should just let us know. Tweet it at us. We'll read them off. Maybe we can bounce off some ideas that way. I personally would like to see another voice, just because I think there are so many, opinions out there.
Definitely.
I would like to see more motherfuckers answer the sound off questions each week. We get so many listeners, and really only our loyals, followers like one of us, the Count, answers. 1%er, thank you. Jeremy Williams hasn't even been around in 2 weeks. I mean, give us some more sound off questions or sound off answers, guys.
No
Seriously.
love from Jeremy?
Huh?
No
I haven't
love
heard from Jeremy in a couple weeks. He's one of our loyal fans. Maybe he's in jail. Who knows?
Yeah, so we want to know what you think that we can do more of, what you think that we can do better, what you think that we can do worse. Guys, look, I got a couple ideas myself. Personally, I'd love to get TNA Dudette, Mrs. Raven Effect. I'd like to get, Wake the Snake Chambers' wife on as well.
Wake's hand is not going to do the show.
we'd probably need to have 3 of your girlfriends come join, but by all means, the more the merrier. They can all go to Wake's chambers, as always. But by all means, guys, let's get some feedback on this. So that's your sound off question. What can we do better? Folks, that's it. That's a wrap for this show. For TNAsylum, the entire HeelCast, especially our executive producer, Wake the Snake Stamina Chambers. I'm TNA Dude saying thanks for listening again and have a great week. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, well, TNA sort of spoiled this themselves.
Josue?
Yes.
You there? I'm assuming that you're talking because nobody was there, right?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, the call dropped. So I'm going to plug in just for fun via my network connection. The recording's still going, so Wake's listening to all this shit. But this time he realizes it's technical and nothing else.
Did you guys even hear anything I said when we brought it up?
No, I started with Bye Bye Velvet Sky and transitioned in, and then I heard a bleep because I heard in my headphones that we had lost the connection. I looked over and it was gone. Yeah, so, and then Josue joined back, but he was talking because he thought nobody's talking. I better talk. It's really kind of funny, actually.
So on my end, you say Bye Bye Velvet Sky, and I go celebrate good times. Come on, and I was like, no one else is singing along. No one else is happy.
I was like,
so just complete bomb for Raven effect here, huh? And I was like, I must have just said the worst joke of all time.
All right, well,
I thought this was good.
So we'll start. You do that again. I'll actually pause so you can do that, and then we'll go in. And then since we're talking knockout stuff, Numero, you're going to be up first. All right.
Got it.
All right. Cool. And away we go.